I'm curious whether you cap your allocation to any single sector, or is the fund so fundamentally driven that sector allocation is not really a driver here? It's more of an afterthought.
Sector allocation kind of falls out of our bottoms-up process. So we're looking systematically across the market for securities that we think have a high probability of outperforming the market over the next 3 to 5 years, call it. And we look at valuation primarily, and we look, I'd say more than most managers, at alignment. That's a major theme for us, not only in that we have a ton of our own assets in our own funds with the largest investors in our funds, we also care immensely about whether or not management of the companies we buy owns stock in their own firms that they run, and whether or not they're acting in an aligned way. So if a manager is loading up on a stock, we're going to be much more interested in it if they're buying it personally and it looks cheap than another stock that just looks cheap and there may be a bigger principal agent conflict, should we say.
I was looking at the holdings and the contribution to return, and as you know, MicroStrategy was a big chunk of that outperformance. Looking at their PE, it's 207. I guess when I opened up the holdings, I was expecting to see just all value. Obviously, that for a lot of people will be like not a value stock, but do you see it as undervalued even at that valuation?
Well, so one of our main themes is flexibility, and that is also how is with regard to how we define value. So growth and new ideas and new concepts can be undervalued when you think about them on a larger scale. So it's been our position for a long time, at least a decade, that Bitcoin has been undervalued and remains undervalued as a concept in monetary technology. MicroStrategy was early to recognize that, or at least have the same view as us, the first publicly traded company to do so, and they announced they were putting it on their balance sheet 4 years ago. And so that got our attention. At the same time, as a value-related investor, the stock ran up a ton earlier this year at the same time that the ETFs came out. So if you looked at the value of the stock relative to the value of its Bitcoin plus the software business, it was trading at its biggest premium ever to that, at the same time that investors had a wider array of options in the publicly traded market to get Bitcoin exposure with the new ETFs. So we thought that was a little bit large. It ran up to almost 20, maybe even above 20% of the portfolio, and that was too big at the time. So we cut that back. We still own MicroStrategy. We still love it longer term. It was just too big at 21%. So we have a portfolio of aligned businesses and technologies at compelling valuations. And as they sort of move around those relative to their intrinsic value, we will adjust the weights.